Well, thank you, Joy and Zarky. Well, in my family, my dad was a gymnast, tumbler, handball player. My brother was a gymnast. My other brother swam. My mom played tennis and swam. And me, not so much. But what I could do is I could beat every one of them standing on my head. So there you go. I used to stand on my head a lot. I liked it. Everyone seemed bigger than me, but standing on my head, I got a little different perspective. I could liven things up a bit. So, if you're outside, the grass kind of hangs in front of your eyes, and the trees grow down, not up, and the sky is like a big blue lawn that you can walk across with the birds and the clouds going under your feet. Inside the house was just as much fun because the ceiling became like my dance floor, and I could imagine, leaping over the door frames. And I was also very conscious that at any time a couch or a chair or a refrigerator could come crashing down on me. But I liked standing on my head because I could see things in a new way. It made life seem kind of exciting and unpredictable. In a world where trees grow down and houses might fall up, anything seems possible. I think Jesus might have been wise to ask the crowd to stand on their heads when he taught them the Beatitudes, because that's exactly what he was doing. Jesus set down a list of principles by which to measure a person, right? There's a contrast between how we measure people and how Jesus measured people and asked us to measure people. I found this, it's an old article, but I just thought it was interesting, and I don't think things have changed that much, but this was talking about how a man is measured, guys, so get ready. Man is measured by his ability to make and conserve money, the cost, style, and age of his car, how much hair he has, his strength and size, the job he holds and how successful he is at it, what sports he likes, how many clubs he belongs to, his aggressiveness and reliability. So, there seems to be quite a wide gulf between the popular image of a successful person and what God deems as a successful person. And it's not just true today, it was also true in Jesus' day. And Jesus with the Beatitudes was turning this whole world, as I said, upside down, so that those who had been fighting for breath at the bottom of the human dog pile suddenly found themselves closest to heaven. And those who thought they were at the top of the heap found themselves flat on their backs looking up. The formula of a beatitude was nothing new in that day. They were used as common expressions. Back in the day, not only in religious circles, it was just a way to say things about the good life, listing virtues that anyone would have been pleased to have, like, blessed are the wise, for they will not be fooled, and blessed are the strong, for their enemies shall fear them, or blessed are the wealthy, for they shall not go hungry, that kind of thing. So what was so shocking about what Jesus said was not the form, but the content. Blessed are the meek, the mournful, the poor in spirit. Seriously? And there's nothing fun about any of those. Nothing particularly successful about any of those. I mean, what's so happy about hungering and thirsting for righteousness or about being reviled and persecuted? No one with any lick of sense is going to vote for that definition of the good life. But then, as usual, Jesus wasn't asking for anyone's approval. He just redefined the good life in these 9 short sentences and held them out for everybody to see. 9 portraits of the kingdom people, previously known as victims and dreamers and pushovers and suckers and fools. They're the chosen ones, he said, the blessed ones, the lucky ones, who shall be satisfied. Not because they got some advanced copy of the rules and played by them to win, but because winning was the farthest thing from their mind. This is a list of losers, make no mistake about that. The merciful who keep forgiving their enemies so that their enemies can trounce on them over and over again, or the pure in heart who believe everything they hear and empty their bank accounts to crooks to keep them in business. The peacemakers who step into the middle of a fight and get clobbered by both sides. These are God's favorites. Jesus insists upon it. Not the effective, successful people in the world, but the ones who can't even compete, who wouldn't know success if it walked up and handed them a trophy. Most of us don't know what to do with the Beatitudes. Some of us have heard them so long that they've lost their shock value for us. They're just sort of sweet and familiar, like a nice Christian poem, something you could needlepoint and hang above the piano. But then others of us hear them like commandments, like challenges, and we worry that we're not meek enough or pure enough or persecuted enough. But notice that in the Beatitudes there are no shoulds or oughts or thou shalts or thou shalt nots. The language of the Beatitudes is not transactional. You do this and I'll do that. You get this and I'll do that. If you have this, you'll receive that. It's descriptive language. This is who these people are now, but this is not what the future holds for them. It's not the language of law, but the language of gospel, the language of hope and promise that the way things are now is not the way they will always be. And those that find themselves at the back of the bus will be sitting in first class before the journey's over. A lot of the power of the Beatitudes depends on where you're sitting when you hear them. They sound a lot different from the top than they do from the bottom, a lot different from the front than they do from the back. Up front with the religiously satisfied and the self-assured, they sound pretty confrontational. Where is your hunger and thirst, you well-fed Christians? Where is your spiritual poverty? Where are the bones of your soul showing through your clothes? And why aren't your handkerchiefs soaked with tears? But way in the back, with the victims and the dreamers and the pushovers and the suckers and the fools, the Beatitudes sound completely different. Shh, they say. Dry your tears, little ones. The whole world belongs to you. Even if someone else still holds the keys. It won't be long now. Heaven's gates are opening wide for you, and the first face you will see is the face of God. They're the same words in every place, of course. It's just the ears that change. Each of us hearing Jesus' description of the good life through our own filters. As something to be sought or something to be feared. I guess you can do anything you want with the Beatitudes. People always have. Some have ignored them. Some have admired them. Some have walked away. Some have used them as a yardstick for their own blessedness. And some have used them to declare revolution. But I think the simplest thing to do with them maybe is to let them stand you on your head so that you can't see the world in the same way ever again. So that you cannot be sure anymore who the winners and who the losers are. Upside down, you begin to see God's blessed ones in places it would never have occurred for you to look. You begin to see that the poor in spirit, the meek, and those who mourn are not just people that you can help, but people who can help you if you'll let them in. And that their hunger and thirst for God are not voids to be filled, but appetites to be envied. Upside down, you begin to see that the peacemakers are not flower children, but physicians prescribing God's own tranquility, and that the pure in heart have just never gotten the knack of locking their doors. Upside down, you begin to see that those who have been bruised for their faith are not the sad ones, but the happy ones, because they've found something worth getting bruised for. and that those who are merciful are just handing out what they have already received in abundance. The world looks funny upside down, I guess, but maybe that's just how it looks when you've got your feet anchored in heaven. Jesus did it all the time and seemed to think that we could do it too. So blessed are the ones who stand on their heads, for they shall see the world as God sees it. They shall also find themselves in good company, turned upside down by the only one who really knows which way is up. Amen.
Amen.